Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the highest quality podcast you will ever listen to. We're still working on a name, but I think we're going to stick with some combination of maybe Fizz drives to work. I'd like to, come up with a name that it's like Yap and Drive or Commute and Yap or something, but I kind of wanted to rhyme, so I don't know. But yeah, hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I guess nothing but the best for you guys. But yeah, today is going to be a little bit of a continuation from last week, following up on some of the Commander and Magic news. But if you didn't see the first episode, I'd highly recommend checking that out. It'll be like a nice precursor to what we're going to talk about today and sort of what exactly this whole thing really is. But for those who did not see last episode, this is a 100% unscripted yapping session. The whole point of it is that I condense it down small enough into a drive to work, which is about 25 to 30 minutes. So there's no editing, there's no visuals, there's no, oh, let me fact check some things while I'm talking about it. No, this is just 100% me talking, and what you see or what you hear is what you get. So if the audio is quality, if the audio quality is bad, I'm so sorry. But I think that kind of adds to the charm, if you don't mind me saying. A little bit controversial, but who needs high quality audio and you can actually hear what I'm saying, and you don't have to turn the volume up to 100%. It's great. It's nothing but great. But yes, welcome to episode 2. So today we're going to talk about some more Magic and Commander news. That was our inaugural episode, last episode. But so basically, just to sum up what happened, not this last Monday, but the Monday prior, the Rules Committee released a bit of a bombshell on the Commander format, for certain, banning 4 cards, 3 of them being, I'll say, controversial at best, and, pretty divisive as worst, but, so no one cares about the Nadu ban. I think we can all agree that Nadu deserves to be banned. Should have never been printed in the first place, but the other 3 in Dockside, Druid Lotus, and Mana Crypt definitely ruffled some feathers, to say the least. There's been a whole slew of results and effects of that little news, so we'll catch you up to speed on stuff. But yeah, I kind of wanted to do a little bit of a more structured episode. So, as I said, I'll start with a sort of just a quick update on what has happened since last episode. Sort of my initial thoughts and actions of it, or reactions of it, and then sort of what I think is next for Magic. So real quick, in 60 seconds or less, a lot of people were unhappy with the bans, right? And I can understand why, but what I'm not okay with is there was a huge amount of harassment and just hurtful comments and threats made to the Rules Committee about this news, right? I know a couple of them in particular were singled out on Twitter and Reddit, and I'm sure in emails and other means of communication. So there's been many people of the community, coming out, and although they may not agree with the bans, I think we can all agree that type of behavior and treatment towards these volunteers of the Rules Committee is 100% not okay. So let me just echo what I said last week, that I personally don't think Mana Crypt and Druid Lotus should have been hit. I'm not super upset about the bans. This is just my opinion, but what I'm not okay with, again, is the hatred and harassment and the death threats. So if you have sent any death threats you know, fuck you. You're a horrible person. I really hope there's repercussions for you. I'm afraid there's not, but yes. So as a result of the harassment, there was a tweet made with an announcement that basically described the changing of the guard. So up until now, the Rules Committee, which is an independent third party of a handful of volunteers from the Commander format, right? Instead of them being in control of Commander, it was announced that the reins would be handed over to Wizards of the Coast. And what exactly that looks like, we're not sure. There's been a couple like Q&A blog posts, and I think there was a stream or something. But the exact specifics of that, we are not too sure on. Yeah, I mean, that's really it. We don't know if there's going to be any walking back of the bans. There's been a couple things mentioned, which I'll talk about a little bit later, but again, there's nothing set in stone. This is just, this announcement was made, and sort of we're kind of waiting for more news to come out. So that's really it. Not to downplay everything that's happened, but it's been, besides that, there really hasn't been too much. But okay, so here's the juicy part. Ready? What was my initial reaction? Well, there were a couple things I wanted to point out. I don't think this is a win, right? I don't think Commander format players around the world can rejoice about this outcome, right? I think if you do consider this a win, I respect that. As long as you do not consider it a win because you were one of the people that harassed the Rules Committee. I think if you are in support of this, announcement, and you also levied, hatred, harassment, and death threats against the Rules Committee, you are like a mega douche, unparalleled levels of douchiness. So hopefully you're not one of those people. If you are, please turn this video off. I do not want to associate myself with you. So let's just get that out of the way. But yes, I don't think this is a net. I don't see this as a victory, but I also don't see this as the sky falling down, right? I think a lot of people that I've read on, and a lot of posts on Reddit and Twitter, a lot of people are saying, this is the end of Commander. This is the end of Magic, right? This is going to be a very clear change in, quality of the game. Everything's going to go to shit. Sky's falling. I don't personally think that, right? A lot of people, the reason that they think the sky falling, or at least from what I've read, right? A lot of people cite the glaring issue in the room, which is conflict of interest, right? So, there's the saying, the fox guards the hen house now, right? So the people who are in control and responsible for maintaining the Commander format are also the people that want to make the most money from it, right? And I think anybody with a brain can say, yes, that is 100% a conflict of interest. But in my personal opinion, that's kind of been happening for the last 3 to 4 years, right? The Rules Committee had no say in the cards that 𝐬𝐤𝐤𝐬 printed. There has been clear and very intentional design for, standard sets, modern sets, supplementary sets, all of these sets that have been, designed over the last, certainly the last, 3 years, but I'll even extend it, 4 or 5 beyond that, right? There has been a very clear push for designing sets with Commander in mind. Now, I'm not going to say that's a top priority. It could be. I'll say it's in the top 2, if not the top 3. I don't think there is any format that Magic the Gathering has that can even come close to the type of money that Commander makes Wizards, right? So there has been this push for power creep and push for, you know, the for lack of a better term, just the profit, the over profiting of Commander for years now, right? From what we know, the Rules Committee has had no say in the cards that Wizards not only designed, printed, but sold, right? So I don't see this announcement as the floodgates opening up, right? I don't see this necessarily as, oh, now Wizards is going to start printing, Dockside 2, Mana Crypt 2, Druid Lotus 2. I think even if the Rules Committee, did not decide to hand over the reins of the format, I think we would still see this immense power creep and this immense, push for the Commander format. And whether that's right or wrong, I think that's relatively unhealthy, to say the least, but that could be a topic for a whole other video. But basically, what I'm saying is Wizards being in control of Commander I don't see it as the death of the format. I don't think it's going to suddenly allow Wizards to start printing obscene cards and designing obscene cards. I think they have been, they are, and they will continue to do that. Now, the only thing to be concerned about now is the the maintenance of the format, right? Sure, the Rules Committee may not have had a say in the cards that Wizards designed, but they did have a say in cards that they banned, right? So, I think there's been, in recent history, I can count the number of bans on maybe two hands. I know that there was Golos, there was Flash, there was obviously the aforementioned, in last video and such. I don't think there's any other. Oh, Lutri, obviously, but I don't think there's been really any other bans. And to that point, I think by and large the Rules Committee have had, I would say, a more hands-off approach than they have a hands-on. And I've personally flip-flopped between that's the right thing to do, that's not the right thing to do. They should have a more hands-on approach and, curate a ban list and, more frequently, or they should just unban most cards and let the social contract and Rule 0 take care of stuff, right? I think it is almost impossible to really, quote-unquote, balance Commander just with the, seemingly infinite number, well, not infinite number, but, relatively any card from Magic's history, right? And that's tens of thousands of cards. But not only that, but the seemingly infinite number of people that want to play it. Some people are more competitive, some people are more, casual pre-con level, some people some people you don't know. So I think to expect a group of, 5 people to balance and run this format, I think has really been, largely impossible up until, this point, to be completely frank. And this is by no means downplaying the good work and, the success that the Rules Committee has had. I think they're a very talented group of people. I just know that if I was in charge of Magic's biggest format, I'd be shitting bricks. So what I don't want it to come across as is, discrediting the Rules Committee or blaming them for stepping down. I don't blame them at all, right? But now, here's where I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on, chat, right? I said chat. I have absolutely no evidence to support what I'm about to say. This is purely speculative. There's been no tweets, there's been no interviews, there's been no content that I have consumed that supports this decision or this belief that I have, except my own personal experience. Now, chat. So for those who don't know, my day job is I'm a software engineer. I've worked in companies of 9 people, of about 500. I've worked in a company of 2,000. I've worked in a company of 75,000 people. So I have a decent idea on the corporate world of America, right? Your startups, your enterprises, whatever it may be, right? In my time, I have learned a couple things, and maybe not above all else, I just think it is almost impossible that the decision for Wizards to take over the Commander format was not planned prior. My first reaction to reading that was like, oh, well, duh. I mean, that's inevitable, right? I think for this decision to have been spur of the moment, in the span of, 2 or 3 days, for the decision for Wizards to take over the Commander format, to go up the chain, back down, I personally think it's ludicrous. There is no way that decision could have been made in, a couple days, right? I remember at my first job, which was a very, very large company, right? To change the logo on a page, no functionality behind it. There was a logo that was used in like 2010, and we wanted to simply update it to a new one that was already pre-approved, all of this stuff. That took 3 months. You need to check in with legal, with risk, with compliance, with, QA, all of these people. And sure, I'm not saying that Wizards is a software company, but I find it very, very hard to believe that this decision could have been discussed and finalized in 3 days. So I am under the belief that this has been in discussion for months at this point. Now, I don't think, whether it was going to happen this instant, probably not. I think a lot of the hatred and the harassment that the Rules Committee, had probably pushed, the needle a lot further and a lot sooner. But I think to believe that the Commander format could continue to exist, which is Magic's biggest format, really, right? It's their most profitable ever, I would say. To believe that would exist outside of, Wizards and Hasbro's control for, the forever, I think is a naive statement, right? I think Wizards has had a say behind the scenes for a very long time, and I think now it just is, making it quote-unquote official. But yeah, again, no evidence to back this up. We'll probably never know, but I would put $100 down that this decision was discussed very much in the past. There were, I would say, probably loose to solidified plans of succession eventually for the Rules Committee to 𝐬𝐤𝐜𝐤. And yeah, I think this decision was inevitable. That's just my opinion. Again, there's no evidence, and I'm not saying I support Wizards taking the format. I think it's going to be good for the game. I'm not saying that. Again, I don't think it's going to be good. I don't think it's going to be the end of Magic or the end of Commander. We've seen power creep. We've seen product fatigue. We've seen, fire design, whatever you want to call it. We've seen it before. We're going to continue to see it. And I think this is just as ugly as it is with how the community reacted and the amount of hatred and harassment and, honestly, just bad publicity that it gave Magic. I mean, it's embarrassing. It's horrible. This is probably one of the worst, freakouts I've seen, or temper tantrums, for lack of a better term. Again, you can disagree with the bans, like I do, but you will not see me harass anybody, right? Even people that fully support the bands, let alone the people that didn't. So, but yeah, I don't think this is the end of Magic, the end of Commander. Sure, we may see a couple more Chase Mythics come in and all of this stuff, but the Rules Committee, I think it has had a very hands-off approach with doing bans when they deem fit and deem it necessary. Wizards really has no incentive to ban cards either, so I think Wizards is also going to take a pretty hands-off approach. So I don't think things are really going to be different than they were for the last 3 to 4 years. And unfortunately, this is just Magic changing again, right? But I don't think it's to the extent that some people are talking about. Now, again, I'm not a professional Magic player. I'm not an economist. I'm not a business person. I'm just a fish on the internet yapping. So what I could be saying is 100% wrong, and that's fine. I would like to be proved wrong. That's one of my mottos of all time. So if you think differently, if you support this decision or do not support this decision, please let me know. I'd love to hear what you all have to think about it. Hopefully today's episode was a little bit more well put, well organized, and well constructed. I really tried my best to not just regurgitate what other people have to say. I'm trying to be a little bit, subjective, but also objective at some points too. So I don't know, but I'm pulling into work, so I have to end the recording here. Again, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. If you are in support of these decisions, if you're not in support, please let me know in the comments. Maybe drop a like, drop a subscription if you haven't been following already. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. Hope you have a good morning, evening, or afternoon, wherever you may be watching this from. And I'll be with you again real soon. Take care. Goodbye.